There is no doubt that media in this country is ridiculously biased. And the problem is we've got a massive mainstream conglomerate media apparatus that will not cover breaking and massively important stories, notably in this case, the Hunter Biden scandal, for which now documents from Hunter Biden business partner Tony Bobulinski, reviewed by Senate committee, so far legit, according to a report. But of course, I'm not leading with that story. I just want you to know that so far, this is confirmed. This is legit. Why wouldn't the media touch this story? Why did it fall upon the New York Post? Well, apparently the Wall Street Journal had a leg up on this scoop and didn't run it, at least not initially. And so they've actually done some decent reporting on it. But why not? Why was it ignored? I think one of the biggest problems we have in this country is a desperation to fit in and a fear of being the other. And that means when damning information arises, people say, I'm not touching that. Now, to be fair, we are all guilty of this, myself included. There are some things I'm just going to be like, I don't know about all that one. But I believe I have a higher threshold. You get me an expert, you get me documents, you verify them, I'm willing to report on it. I remember looking at a review for a conspiracy theory website by NewsGuard. NewsGuard said this website posts unfounded conspiracies like this one. And the story they linked to was sourced to a former FBI official. And I said, listen, I understand the claims from a former FBI official like this sound nuts. It was something about U.S. operations in foreign countries. And I'm like, but what gives you the right to determine which expert with the credentials is correct or isn't? Another point is Tucker Carlson, when he had the whistleblower from University of Hong Kong on, saying that she drafted a paper showing COVID was man-made. They said fake news. And I said, what gives you the right to say this expert is wrong? She was literally a university professor in Hong Kong. Now, personally, I don't trust that story. I'm just saying, if someone says, hey, I got a guy here from, the NSA and he's saying this, how do you say that's fundamentally not true? Why? If the story sounds too far-fetched, people in media will say, hey, look, man, it might be true and your documents seem to be authentic, but it sounds crazy enough that we're not going anywhere near it. And that's a big problem. And that's why I think the Wall Street Journal didn't initially jump on the story. And it's partly why a lot of outlets didn't want to jump on it. But I believe the biggest reason that news outlets would not talk about this, and they're only being forced to do it, and they are kicking and screaming, is because it hurts Joe Biden. And it should. It should hurt Joe Biden that he was using his influence to make money, with the money going through his family members as intermediaries. Of course, Joe Biden never received money from foreign governments. He has his kids do it. He has his brother do it. And then when they buy all this fancy stuff, he reaps those rewards. They call it Biden Inc. It was published in Politico magazine. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you to the grand conspiracy and the media's desperate attempts to smear Tucker Carlson and the story itself. You see, last night, Tucker Carlson reveals new trove of documents implicating Joe Biden in shady deals has gone missing from Courier Company, as recording reveals Hunter's two business partners were concerned their secrets would blow up big time. When I heard this, I was incredulous. I was shocked. No way. First of all, no way this happened. Tucker, in my opinion, I trust him. I do. I don't necessarily agree with all of his opinions, but I believe the man has integrity. Now, this is a crazy story that essentially they were shipping documents across the country and then poof, they were gone. Now, what do we get? What do we immediately get from the media? I love this. Check this out. From Jonathan Chait, ladies and gentlemen, the man who told us that Donald Trump was possibly a Russian asset since the 1980s. Never mind the fact that would mean that Trump was a Soviet asset. This guy doesn't know that the Soviet Union collapsed. What was that, like the end of the 80s, early 90s? I was a little kid. Don't forgive me if I don't remember the exact date. Tucker Carlson reports he lost only copy of documents that nail Biden. Oh, no. He lost the only copy. I'm not convinced. I'm sorry. I could be wrong, but Tucker never said that. Yeah. Tucker never said he lost the only copies. No. Here's what people don't seem to understand. And maybe this is Tucker's fault for not explaining, a bit more in detail. Last night when I saw this, I watched the clip from Tucker Carlson where he told the story, and we'll read the story, and I'll get to it. And I thought to myself, wait. What? You're not bringing us the documents? Where are the digital copies? No digital copies? No operational security? You sent this groundbreaking, this earth-shattering story via courier, and it's just gone? Ladies and gentlemen, I am reliably informed. There are copies. Tucker never said that. I guess the point of Tucker's story was just to tell us how strange it was that they were sending hard copies, hard documents, and they went missing. That's it. We may actually still see them. I don't know for sure, or maybe there aren't copies, but I'll tell you this. There's a reasonable explanation for why there wouldn't be. These are confidential and extremely important documents, probably a lot of them. So first, I don't think it's an excuse to say it would have been too difficult to scan and upload, but it may have taken quite some time. Still, it's called operational security, and you protect your information and your evidence. But it could be that they're very serious and sensitive documents, and that's why. If that's the case and there are no copies, then I'm sorry. I would have to laugh in Tucker Carlson's face for screwing this one up big time. I'm not entirely convinced we're at that point yet, but on the surface, this looks like one of the biggest blunders in recent journalism history, if that's the case. But again, I am told by some people there are in fact copies and that people are misunderstanding the point of the segment. Let's read the story. They say this. First, and most importantly, Carlson did not say whether Fox News had made copies of the document. That's correct. I watched it. No, at no point did he say, we've lost it all. It's gone forever. We don't have any copies. But that won't stop the fake news. The intelligencer Jonathan Chait from saying Tucker Carlson reports he lost only copy of documents. Quite literally not true. Isn't that amazing how the media operates? Tucker Carlson has claimed that a dossier of documents allegedly implicating Joe Biden and his son Hunter's shady business deals went missing in the Post, somewhere between Manhattan and Los Angeles. Carlson detailed the mystery of the vanishing documents during his Wednesday evening show on Fox News, where he also aired new audio of Hunter Biden's business partners sharing concerns that their secrets would blow up big time. The host said his team had sent documents via an established courier from his main studio in Manhattan on Monday to Los Angeles. At 3:44 a.m. on Tuesday, someone in the courier company noticed that he had been opened let me try that again. Someone noticed in the courier company that there's a copy edit problem. The packet had been opened and its contents were removed. Carlson said no one was able to explain where the documents, allegedly damaging to the Bidens, had gone. He did not say whether Fox News had any copies. I think the point of the story was we were bringing these documents out and they went missing. That's crazy, right? It is crazy. Who intercepted them? Why? Where? Freaky stuff. Let me tell you a story. I was once given information from a journalist that was important and involved overseas conflict. It wasn't like anything pertaining to national security. It was just like, it was just reporting and it was unreported information. I'll just put it that way. I was given a USB stick and told that there's copies of this. We want to get this story out. I would like you to have a copy in the event that something happens to me. And again, not the most. I'm not going to claim it was like would have changed the world or anything. No, it was just basic unreported stuff on the ground, interviews, some potential stories from. I don't want to get too much into it, but it was good. It was a good and important story, not earth shattering. Wouldn't take on any governments or anything like that. But they gave me this USB stick. Well, I had it in my bag. And I was just one of many people who had been given a copy in the event they never got to publish, which they ultimately did. And again, not earth-shattering stuff. But before it was published, I was going through TSA security in an airport, and I got chosen for a random screening. They told me that I had to be searched. I was randomly selected, and I laughed. And I was like, oh, was it random? Yeah. They took my bag from me, and they said, we're going to put it down over here. And I objected. I said, no, you can't search it in front of me. And they said, it's just going to be literally right here around the corner. I said, I can't see it. And they were like, sir, it's going to take 10 seconds. We're just going to do a search and your bag's right there. And so I was like, fine. And then when I made it to my destination, the USB stick was gone. And you know what the worst thing about it was? It was a 128 gig USB stick. And this is like 10 years ago. That was not cheap. Okay. I think it was like 50 or 60 bucks. It's like, dude, I would have made a copy for you. It wasn't that crazy of information. I don't know where it went, why it was gone, or what happened. I'm not accusing anybody. I don't know if there's a conspiracy. Maybe just it fell out of a hole in the bag. But that literally, I had it, went to security, it was gone. So I have to wonder if there was a concern about what was on it. And maybe it would have been extremely damaging or something, but it wasn't. It was just your basic reporting from the field with some, anecdotes and stories from locals. But I digress. So these things happen. And that's why operational security is so important. Tucker offered no details about what the documents described, merely saying they were confidential documents related to the Biden camp that came from a source. We believe they are authentic. And at the time we received them, my executive producer and I were in Los Angeles talking to Tony Bobulinski. He said, referring to Hunter Biden's business partner. So we texted a producer in New York and asked him to send us those documents to LA. Monday afternoon this week, he shipped the documents overnight to California with a large national carrier, a brand name company that you used countless times. But the Biden documents never arrived in LA. Carlson said that on Tuesday morning, the day of the Bobulinski interview, they received word from the shipping company that our package had been opened and the contents were missing. He said the documents disappeared. Carlson said that the courier company, to its credit, took this very seriously and investigated. He said they traced the envelopes until 3:44 a.m. on Tuesday, when an employee at the sorting facility in another state noticed that the package was open and empty. Carlson explained. The company's security team interviewed every one of its employees who touched the envelope we sent. They searched the plane and the trucks that carried it. They went through the office in New York where our producers dropped that package off. They combed the entire sorting facility. They used pictures of what we had sent, so the searchers would know what to look for. They went above and beyond, but found nothing. He said the courier company was baffled and deeply bothered by this. And so are we, he concluded. In his show on Wednesday, Carlson also revisited his interview the previous night with Bobulinski and aired new audio. In the clips, Rob Walker, a former Clinton official and family friend of the Bidens, who was one of the 5 men in the company, Sinohawk, said that he was concerned their story would blow up big time. Sinohawk, active from 2017 and wound down in 2018, comprised of Hunter Biden, his uncle Jim, Joe's brother, Bobulinski, Walker, and a British businessman, James Gilliar. Gilliar is based in the Czech Republic. He had known Bobulinski for many, many years. Walker, an investor in tech, was brought into the company by the Bidens. His wife, Betsy, used to work for Jill. Walker is heard on the phone with Bobulinski and Gilliar saying, I just think that if somebody comes out now and verifies the story, it blows up big time. That's all. Gilliar, in a second clip, appears equally concerned, saying, we've got this situation now where it's escalating again because somebody, allegedly one of us 3, has qualified the story. Already it's back on the front pages. Bobulinski, in a third clip, says that their company is attracting attention from the Chinese firm they wish to work with as a result of the Biden name. He was there because he was selling his family's name, and that's the whole reason why the Chinese were there, says Bobulinski. The Chinese would never have been there if Biden's name wasn't there. Carlson did not air anything more to give context to the conversation. Now, these documents are confirmed. Well, so far. We know that we know the emails are legit. We know, I believe the laptop is, to the best of our understanding, confirmed. Look, you can still flub things. We have got some dirty, shady stuff going on, to say the very least. A mysterious laptop dropped off at a computer repair store with a Beau Biden Foundation sticker on it. And then this guy hands it to the FBI. The FBI apparently said they didn't investigate because they didn't think the source of evidence could hold up in a court. Perhaps. The official story is that the laptop was dropped off by Hunter Biden, who signed for it, and he never came back for it, which then it became the property of the Mac store repair shop guy. I tell you what, man, I fall to Occam's razor. The simple solution tends to be the correct one. But I mean, think about how perfect that would be. You've got a trove of documents that were hacked, stolen from the Bidens, text messages and everything. You put it on this computer, drop it off at a repair store, and then never come back. It becomes the legal property, and thus you bypass any hacking allegations. So I don't know. I will tell you this. Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg comes under fire as he tells Republican senators his platform throttled users trying to post Hunter Biden revelations because the FBI warned Russia was spreading disinformation. Really? The FBI warned. Look, they're desperately trying to break down the story, destroy it, and it won't work. MAGA scrambles to repair the Hunter Biden narrative. Instead of publishing the more salacious allegations, conservative media has been more focused on covering alleged suppression of the story. This is why, my friends, they never say my name. First of all, they try to say I'm right wing or whatever. And some people, I guess from a tribal point of view, I understand why they would do that. But I'm certainly not a conservative. And they often never bring me up. You ever thought about this? I think I got 110 million views total, podcast and YouTube, mostly YouTube, in the last month in September. October is tracking to be a little bit lower, but that actually is normal. There's ebbs and flows and things like that. And I see all these articles talking about what the right wing media is doing and what the mainstream media has said. And even though I have this massive viewership, they don't mention what I said. And maybe it's because I'm an outlier. You know, it's like, well, what do we say about this guy? But scrambling to repair the Hunter Biden narrative, I've covered the Hunter Biden thing extensively and gotten to the core of the allegations and explained my opinions on why I think it was really, really bad that Hunter Biden had done these things and why Joe Biden has done these things. And I've also said, if you want to point out Trump's criticisms, I'm not going to sit here and criticisms of Trump. I'm not going to sit here and defend the man. By all means, I've said it almost every time I've talked about this. There's criticism to be thrown at Trump for having government contracts with his own properties and businesses. Now, he's lost money in his first 2 years of the presidency. I don't know the numbers on the next two because the New York Times hasn't reported on those the way they did on 2016 and 17. I'm not sure if he lost money in 2018 and 19. But Donald Trump has lost money. And they're like, no matter what he would have done, if he made money, they'd say he's making money as president. He's using the government to his advantage. He loses money, they say, aha, he's not paying taxes. So listen, by all means, we can talk about both. I just happen to think that, you know, the Bidens are Joe Biden's a 47-year crony establishment politician. And Trump maybe has things you can call him out for, which I have in the past. Trump derailed G7, his resorts in Scotland that he was having, military stay at. I'm not a fan of any of that stuff. And so I called it out when it happened. I would like a fair and honest assessment of what's going on with the Hunter Biden narrative. And no, MAGA isn't scrambling. It's just that many people said the suppression of the story is a bigger story in itself. In fact, it's not just conservatives. I believe we've got some progressive reporters, individuals like Matt Taibbi. I don't want to put words in anyone's mouths, but there are some progressive reporters calling out the intelligence establishment, calling out the mainstream media and saying this was a marginal corruption story. I shouldn't say marginal, but it was a big story. Look, I don't want to act like what we're learning about the Bidens is like the end of the world in terms of like shocking revelations. It's a serious, serious story about Joe Biden. But come on, you give me a story about, someone in the government using their name and having their kids make money off their office and all that stuff. It's kind of like it's something we expected, we assume, and now we're getting confirmation. So big story. Don't get me wrong. Not the biggest story in the world. Important nonetheless, especially coming into election. So certainly one of the biggest. Well, then they suppressed it. And now we are looking at a mainstream media, Politico, The Intelligencer, the New York Times, discrediting the story, claiming it's BS without evidence. And it's now being confirmed over and over again. And they claim it's MAGA scrambling to repair the narrative. No, the narrative is simple. The documents were released. A witness has come forward. We know that Joe Biden has run Biden Inc. That's what they called it in Politico magazine, where his brother and his son have made tons of money. Joe Biden's son and his brother have made tons of money. And as Politico said, their good fortune tracks very much so with Joe Biden's career. Trump pointing out that Joe's brother made millions in Iraq. Yup. Who are these people who voted for us to go in to the Middle East? These crony establishment politicians. The people who have been in for decades, and they keep pushing the same things and enriching themselves off it. We got corruption problems. We absolutely do. And I'll tell you what, I think we've successfully concluded on what we're seeing with the Hunter Biden story. Joe Biden was going to receive equity. And you know what? You can say, well, where are the documents? We'll see. Maybe Tucker really did screw this one up, and shame on him if that's the case. Maybe they didn't think twice. They didn't know. And they were just like, just send them over. And they didn't realize someone's going to intercept that. Tucker, look, I spend a lot of time. I have a lot of friends in the hacker community, the InfoSec community, information security, InfoSec for short. And they're very, very up on what's called OPSEC, operational security. I believe it's operational security. Someone's going to correct me. But so we know full well what you do and don't do. And that's why I told the story about my USB stick. I was just the reason why I didn't really care all that much about the stick was that it was given to a ton, the USB stick. It was given to tons of people. And when it went missing, I just kind of laughed about it. I was more concerned about losing the USB stick as opposed to the information. But Tucker kind of screwed that one up. But anyway, I digress. Let me say it this way. We know Hunter Biden was selling the family name. We know Joe Biden went to Ukraine and said, fire the prosecutor or you're not getting the money. We know that Joe Biden threatened to withhold guaranteed loans, which apparently is not legal. And people said Trump shouldn't have done either. Okay, absolutely. Trump should not have threatened to withhold aid to Ukraine in exchange for this investigation, 100%. And if it was a crime or whatever, then by all means, we look into it. And if Trump is guilty, he is. Here's the thing. Joe Biden did the exact same thing. And this is not a whataboutism. It's a standards issue. The left will immediately go, that's whataboutism. We're talking about what Trump should do. Yeah. Okay, what's the legal standard? Well, Joe Biden did X and no one cares. And Trump did X and now you care. I'm sorry. We have to have a legal standard. We have to have a political standard. I'm not happy with either of it. Now, Joe Biden did this. Okay, I can say fine. They said he was acting in accordance with U.S. policy. Well, as the president, he sets foreign policy. And if he wants them to look into shady dealings done by Joe Biden, then he is setting the foreign policy and is acting within it. That's why he was elected. So spare me. The Hunter Biden narrative is clear. Jim and Hunter Biden Inc. have made tons of money off of Joe Biden's public service. And it's disgusting. And we've moved on from this in a sense. Now, there's still a lot to be covered. But we're now at a point where we realize big tech, big media are doing everything in their power to suppress damaging information to the guy they want to win. I'll tell you the funniest thing in all this media stuff. They're coming after Joe Rogan because he had Alex Jones on his podcast again. And I guess Joe Rogan was re-uploading the episode to like clean it up and it dropped off the playlist or whatever. And everyone freaked out, thought it was censored. And it's like the silliest thing ever. But hey, excellent PR, mind you. So anyway, Joe Rogan made a post on Instagram earlier where Alex Jones was saying a bunch of crazy things that many people in the media claim are lies. I think BuzzFeed wrote a story saying, Alex is pushing all this disinformation. The funny thing about that is that on the show, they were fact checking Alex and confirming a lot of what he said. Now, I didn't see the full episode, but Joe made a post saying, look, here's a clip. This is what Alex Jones was talking about. He was right. It's interesting. I think Alex Jones says a lot of crazy things. I do. But I think the media says crazy things all the same. And they're doing it to protect their political choice. So therein lies the big problem. The scandal has grown above and beyond Hunter Biden. And it's now implicated big tech, Jack Dorsey, Mark Zuckerberg, Sundar Pichai, less so Google, because, it was Facebook and Twitter suppressing this. And for whatever reason, the mainstream media now is trying to cover this up, and probably because it's, we know it's true. I'll leave it there, though. Look, my final thought on this is we've got to do something about this. We've got to demand our rights and challenge those who would lie to us. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel, and I will see you all then.